Oh my God, I put him to sleep.
Oh, we got it.
I fell
We got
asleep.
a gag going.
He's just so boring.
What a time to be alive.
Take my hand, off to Never, Never Land.
I figured you hadn't seen that yet, Borg, so we had to
No, I have
throw
not
that
seen
one
that yet.
on.
Well done.
That was
I like
Ben.
the music
Ben's
as much
voice.
as anything else.
Right? Oh, it was terrific. So everyone, thank you for joining us, all you late night DJs joining us on the Late Night Show with the Borg. We have special guests with us tonight. We have Kevin Marshall of FCS Nation Radio and Mr. Zach Mckinnel, repeat guest this week, hopping on with us because it's everybody's big chance before the committee to come out and talk what we think projections are going to be. And I see Borg, you've got your prediction out. McKinnell, you got yours on FCS Football Central out. Kevin, I don't know if you guys don't usually do a bracket prediction or anything. You guys had to react, right?
I mean, we don't try to predict, man. We just analyze what is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's, guys that depend on clicks, got to get them clicks, baby.
That's right.
So there's that.
So, as always, thank you everyone for joining us on the Jackrabbit Illustrated YouTube and Facebook page and the FCS Fans Nation YouTube page as well. We appreciate each and every one you listen in. As always, thank you to our title sponsor, Kubota Dealers of South Dakota, with 9 locations across the great state of location. The great state of South Dakota, not the great state of location. That's not a thing. Great state of South Dakota, 9 locations, always a place near you to get in.
So.
I know, right? So we got a location near you. We've almost got enough for 2 locations for every guest that we've got on here. So getting yourself into some orange equipment today, take care of your farm, your ranch, your homestead, and acreage. They've got everything you may need to get that taken care of, and it's high quality equipment that won't break down, but they do have parts and service as well. So thank you to Kubota Dealers of South Dakota. Wow, I'd have to jump off my roof if I'd finished that wrong. So guys, holy shit. What a game that was up in North Dakota in Grand Forks. I could hear our bus of fans that our good buddy Ice Slayer, also known as Jim Poppin, put together. We could hear those guys on there at the end of that game. The beginning of the game started with a similar flavor to the Illinois State game, just not quite to the same degree. Errors all over the place. All sorts of mental errors, dropped punts, fumbled punts, interceptions. To be frank, this was by far Jack Henry's worst game that he's played so far. 9 of 3 in the first half with 2 interceptions and like 20 yards passing. Really, really tough start for the Jacks, and in a very difficult place to play. They clawed back. I think the biggest and most important thing going into the playoffs from this game, from what I saw, is the SDSU O-line started busting open holes for the backs, and the backs were hitting them hard, and their downhill run game got rolling, and it was really good. They were able to ride that. I think that gave them some confidence, and then they got big plays from the defense when they needed it with the strip sack. They hit when they needed him. Jack Henry hit monster throws, hit one of the biggest throws I think I've seen a SDSU quarterback hit, period, with the game winner in overtime. He didn't have a monster game, but he had a monster game, if that makes sense. So that was a wild one to be a part of. But SDSU manages to put up, I think it's over 200 yards rushing on one of the number 2 rushing defense in the Valley, which means you're probably one of the best rushing defenses in the country. Really impressive performance on the O-line. You get your heart and soul, the other captain who kept everybody together on a bullshit ejection where contact with the official, and we can pull up the clip if we like. It was contact with an official when the official initiated contact, and that was some wild shit. I'd never seen that before, where a ref elbows in front of the player and pushes him away and then looks him in the eye and throws the flag. Did
you see how he held it up there? That was my favorite part. He went,
he let it hang.
jazz hand.
Right.
That was
Yeah.
my favorite part of the whole situation, man.
And that was
Make it
after
about you, dude. Make it all about you.
That was after there'd been an earlier sequence when they'd pinned him at the 2 where you had 2 consecutive personal foul penalties, and one of them was a kind of a questionable late hit. So I don't know.
Yeah.
And I didn't know. I've never actually known if you could actually. I've never really seen that before, where you've seen 2 straight late hits call. I've never seen like 30 yards. Usually, I don't know. Usually, it's pretty rare to see 2 of those called on the same thing. So I don't know. It was an interesting officiating day. Not to mention some very long reviews that were a little surprising as well.
Yeah, that was wild. In rewatching it's called an illegal block. I don't know why. I don't remember who it was on. You watch the replay. I don't know why he did it. He turns around and just cut blocks the shit out of an offensive player.
My guy.
Like, I don't know why you do that. Like that
My
was
guy.
crazy activity. So yeah, I know. Right after your Citadel heart there, Kev, but it was outside the tackle box, and that's not legal. So he gets in trouble. We've got 202 yards rushing per Jim. So thanks for the assist on there. I was going to look that up, but the late hit was definitely ticky tack. And yeah, you don't see that often with 2 personal fouls in the same play. And you know, that the officiating was what it was. I don't want to make it about the officiating, but there was some wild activities on that. There was one side judge who it looks like he was looking at it and he must be left eye dominant because it was always back to his left hand by about a yard every time he spotted the ball. Then the one time the Jacks get a good ball spot, North Dakota goes, "That's enough of that shit," and they challenge it and they win the challenge with an angled review. Whatever, it is what it is. You're on the road and that's life. You got to win. You got to win, and it doesn't matter how calls are going. You just got to keep playing, and the Jacks did.
I was going to say, I hope there are times where I think if you have a contact with an official, if it were an actual legitimate thing where you could maybe get suspended for the next week. So I would hope none of that is in play for Quentin Christensen, because clearly, if anything, I would hope whatever crew, obviously we're at the end of the season anyway, so I don't know if those guys would be in the playoffs, but if anybody got suspended, I would kind of hope it's the ref who maybe gets a little bit of a talking to. I would hope there's no post-game penalties that would lead into next week for Quentin, because that was just, I don't want to make it about the refs either, but that particular ejection, especially if it were to have any technical consequences into next week, is one of the dumbest things I think I've ever seen at a game. So,
did Jackson say anything about it? Because you're not allowed to say anything about it if you've learned anything from what happened in Idaho last week.
This is Missouri Valley officiating. Maybe they're a little different.
I mean, you're the victim of something, and don't you dare talk about it. Right? Don't dare mention it. That's fire, the real
yet
crime.
I am not allowed to comment.
That's the real crime.
They announced a fine before they announced the apology, I think, last week from the Big Sky. They announced a fine before they apologized for missing the call.
And then Idaho goes out and loses to Idaho State at home for the first time in 40-some years, nearly 50 years, I think.
Oh, they didn't just
sitting
lose.
here in awe of y'all, because this
is
what it's like to work without a show clock. Brendan just talked for like 5 minutes, and I'm sitting here going, "Let's speed it up, Brendan. We got 48 minutes, guy." But
it's the freedom of the internet, brother.
I mean, and I can say things that I don't normally say, right?
Yeah.
There's a look at the ejection again. Thank you. Thanks, Brendan, for pulling that. I mean,
yeah.
Shit.
I mean, what? What?
What?
No, I just wanted to say it. That's all.
Right. Right.
I mean,
yeah, I couldn't believe that.
The funny thing is, I was thinking right before that, right before that ejection gets called, I'm like, man, I would have liked that play call a hell of a lot more on third down, and I'm really going to hate that play call if that ends up costing them Quentin Christensen. But then when I see what actually happened, I'm like, I can't even really hate anything. The referee, what is this guy doing? It just is, I mean, that's the moment where you probably, and then of course they made a stop, I think, right after that, but then they fumble a punt. And then you're down 20-7, and you really have to be thinking at that point, with the way this offense has been limited, even though they were running the ball well. I mean, I knew some SDSU alums who were about at the point where they were ready to turn off the TV at 20-7 after that fumbled punt. And boy, did it turn around pretty quick after that.
Yeah, it was wild. And at that point, you're down your heart and soul there with Q out. You don't have Sam Hagan, so you're down your two rocks on the offensive line. You've decided to shuffle around your center for the last play of the game and swap in Nate Adams at center. And I think that made a huge difference. And he really shone bright.
John
Playing
Peake, the
center
former
there.
tight end, doing really well too.
Yeah, well, tight end. He was getting the Quentin Christensen treatment of we want a big body on the field who could block, and so he did a great job. And yeah, you're in that spot. And Bullock comes up gimpy that very first catch he makes, and I think later in that drive, he makes a catch but isn't able to drag his foot at all. He doesn't even attempt to drag his feet, and I think that was partially due to him being dinged up from there. So you're down your top two receivers, your top two offensive linemen. You're on your third string quarterback at that point. You're down 20-17 or 20-7 after fumbling a punt and drive down with one hell of a gutsy drive to respond. And it was. I'm just beyond impressed. The O-line, I think, really put the team on its back today. Johnson running in the red zone was an absolute weapon. Getting touchdown runs, it doesn't seem like much 4 or 5 yards, but when you're in the red zone, that's a long run for a touchdown to right between the tackles, the way he kept doing it. And it was impressive. I was really impressed with that, especially in that environment. I mean, the crowd might not be very loud, but their sound system is. So you've got you got some noise issues going on there.
11,000, the official announced crowd.
Well, and it's wild talking to people who were up at that game. They're like, it is a really weird game day experience. And I've been there before, and I can concur that crowd does not get into it unless it's like the NDSU game, or they're starting to get a lead. And even if they get a lead, they get bored and they make zero noise whatsoever, except for third down sometimes. And it was wild. What do you, Zach, and Kevin, what do you guys think when you're watching across the board here and watching all these games? You got Yale and everything else going on, Lehigh Lafayette and the brawl, and you see this game go the way it does.
I was happy that Lockridge finally showed up, man. That was the guy everyone thought y'all were going to get from Fordham. I mean, there was a lot of talk about him not adjusting to the speed of the Missouri Valley and stuff from SDSU fans that I saw, but I think you finally saw kind of what he could be and given the opportunity. And like you mentioned, Josiah Johnson, 3 rushing touchdowns today. But I was just really surprised y'all were able to run the football against UND. All year they've been solid, man. That front seven has been great against the run. And listen, the young quarterback, I know maybe he didn't play well in totality, but what you want from a young kid is to make the throws when they're needed. And he did. That's all you can ask for, man. In the second half, when you absolutely had to have a play made, the kid just found a way to make a play. And I think I'm interested to see how he develops, man. I think he's the kid of the future. And I think in the playoffs, like you said before the show, we'll see if Mason comes back for the playoffs. But you do like this kid's potential, man. The ceiling is through the roof.
It was a hell of a game. And that O'Lara Center is funny. How many times have y'all heard me say that, right? I mean, it's just, you kind of have to create your own atmosphere in a place that's got supposedly 11,000 people in it. And I just want to welcome North Dakota fans into what it's like to be me every football season. 4, 5, 6 plays, man, make the difference between having a really good year and being somewhere hovering around 500. And I will say this, that when they finally do it, they'll enjoy it as often as I do when my team has a good year. When you win all the time, man, you get used to it, right? But when you don't and you do, you have a tendency to enjoy it way more than when you're jaded by winning all the time. So that being said, it was a great ball game. And is there anybody who still wants to fire Dan Jackson out there? I mean, this guy cobbled together a bunch of dudes who you'd never heard of that play for your team and went on the road and won a game in a place where it's very difficult to win. Kudos to him. He's done one hell of a job, even these last 4 weeks, y'all.
Yeah, he really has. Keeping it together, keeping the team positive. I just want to make a quick comment for all the people on YouTube. If you're watching and you've got a funny screen. I tried to put a comment in at the start of the show. There are 2 streams on YouTube that you can select. If you're selected the mobile one, then you're going to get the vertical iPhone real view. If you select the other one, you'll get your normal view. I don't know why I said we weren't going to do it this week. It automatically selected it this week when I set the video. It is what it is. So just switch to that other feed. I apologize. It is what it is. But if you're on a phone, it's allegedly supposed to work better, I guess. I don't know. So yeah, but on the Dan Jackson thing, I've had some arguments with people today about how poorly coached this team is and everything. It's like, man, I get it. I'm not a huge fan of a lot of the play calls here all the time. You know, the love of randomly running and end around on 3rd and short still drives me up a tree. But there wasn't the nonsense or the unending bubble screens and wide receiver screens and swing passes. Those weren't there today. There was a lot of vertical up the gut power run game, and I really do think that and you know what the coaches really deserve a hat tip for is you had to replace this roster was down to 60 guys, which doesn't sound like a big deal unless you really know ball and there's 110 roster spots on there, and then you include that you lost 14 more recruits on top of it, so you've got to fill out 50 roster spots, an entire coaching staff all at the same time. And so you've got a lot of transfers, and we always talk about these teams that have a bunch of transfers on it. One of the hardest things for those guys to do is to handle adversity and not end up playing for themselves. And it would have been, I honestly had that thought cross my mind when they got down 20-7 for those guys to just go, yeah, season's over, and just really lose the heart and the drive, and to fight through on the road after 4 losses in a row. You're in a tough place to play, and you instead do the exact opposite thing, knuckle down and push through and win. Really speaks a lot to the players on the team that they brought in, the coaches, guys like Quentin Christensen. There's video of him meeting the team as they come off the field in the tunnel to celebrate with those guys, which was awesome. But I think that is something that, yeah, that's not X's and O's, but that takes a special coach to keep that sort of group together the way that they did.
Give credit to Southern Illinois too. They were in the same position.
Yes.
And they did the damn thing today against a pretty darn good Illinois State team. So
they beat the piss out of them.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. One of the
close. Road too. On the road. I mean, I think the other thing that stuck out to me too was the fact that I know I made a few references during the game of where is Jack Smith, and we can get to that later in the rants part, but Graham Goring, who was kind of quiet in this game, and he's been a little quiet during the season. You think back to last year, he had some tough moments. He had some tough drops. I think in one of the Dakota Marker game, there was that kind of controversial one where it looked like he might have been in the end zone or might have had a catch that would have gotten him right down to the 1 and maybe won that game. For him to, I mean, that last play, obviously, first of all, that's a hell of a throw by Jack Henry on the run.
Yes.
But the catch is equally as good. I mean, that's probably the best catch of, not just for the moment of what was happening, but probably the best catch of Graham Goring's career in the biggest moment of Graham Goring's career. I mean, a kid who's had a lot, I said it online, and they had that last play moniker on their helmet, which, Stig coined a couple of years, I think it was right after they lost to Sam Houston in the title game. And I mean, nothing to me with they, for everything that's happened in the last month, and there still is warranted criticism I think you can have for the coaching staff. I don't know that they're going to have a long playoff run. It may not last more than next week, but for everything that's happened against this program, that's the totality going back to the coaching change, the attrition, the death of Nate White, for everything. And then in this last month, for a kid who had a, tough couple of years to make that grab, and from a third string quarterback who had started off having a rough day, they did that last play. They did Stig and what that really means. They did that proud. on this day. So, yeah, I mean, I think just, and I said this similarly to you. I said this last week. I mean, again, I think a lot of people understood. I think the realistic fans of SDSU understood that there were some different things in play this year because of all of what I just mentioned. But nonetheless, to have ended the year on a 5-game losing streak, to lose the playoff streak, and I think had they lost, and not, as I just put out my predictions for the playoffs, and we'll get into that, I think UND's getting in for an entirely different reason, but I don't think SDSU makes the playoffs on a 5-game losing streak. I just don't. Had they ended the season on that note, it would have been I think it still would have been a bad, not devastating, but it would have been a bad thing. I said this about USD last week. For them, it was just important to kind of keep the train rolling in terms of keeping their playoff streak going, not having a backslide into, being a 4-7, 4-8, 5-6 program, which is what the fear was when they lost to Lamar and then NDSU. Well, they righted the ship, got back to the playoffs. For SDSU, I think whatever happens in this playoff run, to win a game like that at the end when everything was against you and keep all this playoff stuff going, keep your top 20, keep all these things in play at a time where it looked like it wasn't going to happen. I think it's huge. And, first-year coach, I think we saw a couple first-year coaches in the Valley this year and who were up against it, and I think they kind of showed their mettle at times this year by being able to rally their teams in moments where it didn't really look like that was going to be possible.
So,
Yeah,
Ron Lowney 4,700. Does that mean there's 4,699 more of that guy? Or
I think
what,
so.
man?
If you've ever seen the amount of comments that he puts
I
on
have,
all the different FCS
and I'm
streams.
he's got to have like 7 burners, dude, because it's doesn't matter what show it is. If I watch Tubbs, he's on there. If I watch Zach's show, he's on there. And I'm impressed, dude. I'm not hating. I mean, I'm just kind of impressed, man.
That dude loves the that dude loves the FCS more than any other fan in any chat. And he's on it.
He's the GOAT. He's the FCS commenting GOAT, I think. He's everywhere. Jim Poppin's our guy. But man,
love Jim Poppin.
Ron Lowney is everywhere. I think we're going to get in the bracket here real quick, but first I want to bring up our segment sponsor, Dreamers Do Travels and Amy Dix. We appreciate their support on the late night show here. Dreamers Do Travel. If you're looking for a quick honeymoon, maybe with your wife, or give her a second honeymoon, or you want a Disney trip or a cruise or anything in between, all-inclusive resorts, everything, contact Amy Dix at Dreamers Do Travel. They take all the stress out of planning a trip for yourself. Say we end up going to I don't know, Yale, and you go to Connecticut or something, maybe contact Amy Dix. Maybe she's able to hook you up with a quick trip that's a lot cheaper than finding it for yourself. Who knows? Look up Dreamers Do Travels on the old Google machine, and Amy Dix's information is on there. Give her a call and get hooked up with some sweet travel deals. Maybe you got spring vacation plans you want set up with the kids, anything else in between. Talk to Amy Dix at Dreamers Do Travels and get yourself set up today. They've got all sorts of good discounts. You don't have to stress. It's the way to go. So this game was hugely pivotal, we all thought, anyways, for the playoff race and making the playoffs and, who makes it and who doesn't. But now, Zach, I'm looking at your prediction. I'm looking at Sam Herder's prediction. And now, all of a sudden, North Dakota is in the last 4 in for everybody. What the hell happened with that?
Well, I mean, I'll say this. I think a lot of the not so great bubble teams, the bubble teams that me, Kevin, Sam, and everybody in the media would have all said, yeah, they probably deserve resume-wise to get in, but I don't think they're playoff teams. You look at, I think Northern Arizona is a team that I think even at 8-4, they probably get in because the committee loves 8-4 Big Sky teams, but I don't think Northern Arizona was a good enough team to be in the playoffs this year. Personally, them losing help. I think everyone, and then some of the chaos scenarios, Brendan, that we and you talked about. UT Martin pushed Tennessee Tech, but they fell just short. I think Austin Peay, man, I don't know if y'all got to watch that game. I mean, they are going to be talking about what ifs for that game they go for 2 in overtime. They have a guy wide open, and the quarterback overthrows him in the end zone to lose that
Unbelievable.
game.
Yep.
Yeah, so they would have been in if they win that game. So I just think the bubble played out perfectly for the loser of this SDSU UND game to get in. And when you look at the bubble, how do you not put UND in over some of these other bubble teams?
Right.
And the guy
Yeah.
for Austin P hadn't missed a throw all day, man.
Man, Chris Parson played amazing.
He's a stud, man. And it was almost like it was too open because he was putting balls in windows all evening. And he's like, wow, I don't have to make a difficult throw. I can't do that. I've been making those all day. I can't make the easy one. So that's a good football team. I mean, I know that, some people don't think that strength of schedules against FBS teams should be counted that you're a good team, Brendan. But this is a team that did push Georgia for a while, Austin P. So, there's something to be said for that.
We can talk about that. I think here's the deal. A lot of people are taking this the wrong way. I'm not saying you can't take that into account when you talk to them. I think if we're not going to let the record count, if just in the strength of schedule metric, you can't include the FBS game unless you win it. You shouldn't get to count it because specifically look at, and it's not going to matter for them. They're going to get the 2 seeds. So if Montana State fans want to be mad, then I don't give a shit. Montana State's strength of schedule looks better than Tarleton's, but you put their resumes together and they have the same amount of wins against teams that are over 500 and the same amount of losses against teams that are over 500. But the strength of schedule for Montana State looks way better because you get to add fucking Oregon to your strength of schedule. No shit, your strength of schedule looks better. You got pumped by 45. Just like literally every other FCS team's capable of doing, but because you got a check, you get to have your strength of schedule look better. No, if you have a good showing, that is something that can absolutely be talked about and be credited in that committee room or when you're talking about seeds and everything else. I'm just saying when it comes specifically to strength of schedule, if you decide to schedule Alabama and you get your shit pushed in by 50, which everybody would, that's not a knock on anybody.
What if everybody would 10-10 at the half though? What about
that?
What
then you hung with them, and
that
can be part of the. I remember that game. That was their Alabama fans were losing their minds.
They wanted
great Nick Saban.
They wanted to fire Nick Saban because he was tied with the Citadel at halftime.
When aren't they losing their minds over something now? So
right,
par for the course.
Right. Everybody ignore Brian. He's just here to be a troll. Love you, Brian, but you're just here to be a troll.
He said he's going to hate on 3 of the 4 of us. We get to pick which 3. I'll volunteer.
You hate on me all you want.
I don't know if anybody else can hate me because the CAA's got 16 teams, so I think that people hating me quotient is full for this year so far.
Well, they'll schedule it so their top teams don't catch a loss. So anyway.
Yeah. So, I was going to say there. So if Mercer gets through to the quarterfinals, then they only have to go to Bozeman this time. So at least you don't have to go to Fargo. At least it's SoCon.
I like that way better. If I'm Mercer, I like that way better.
1,000%.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably better than going to Fargo this year. But Bozeman is not a walk in the park. I would have maybe liked it more if it was Montana at this point, because man, it looks like Montana State's got something. I still don't think they're quite as good as they were a year ago, but man, it looks like that's just always the toughest place to go. And now that crowd's going to be, they're going to be extra juiced now after what just happened with the brawl of the wild. But yeah, to add to that point about UND, I mean, and this is from the guy who literally made who put the goal horn and UND hockey song onto the SDSU touchdown.
I saw that.
Tell them
that was funny.
To bid them farewell, but. When I went back and started looking over, I'm like, I can't justify putting it, especially with what the CAA, we mentioned 16-team CAA. I mean, I can't justify putting New Hampshire in over UND when, and yes, I get it. They don't have a lot of wins over although the Youngstown win's really good now, and in hindsight, that Youngstown win looks better because Youngstown has been really good. The SIU win is pretty good. Even though SIU is not going to get in because they only, one of those D2 wins is going to knock them out. But I just can't look at, even though you'd like to see UND have one of those wins against the higher ranked team, and they've kind of been, to me, they've not been playing very well over the last 4 weeks. They didn't really play that well at Murray State last week.
Didn't they win today? Didn't Murray State win today?
Murray
Yes,
State
they did.
lost tonight. They beat guess who?
Brendan, what did I tell you?
You nailed it. You nailed
That
it,
was my
baby.
super dog pick this week. Shout out to
They
Murray
beat
State.
Indiana State on the road, and by God, if you're an SDSU fan, you're even happy.
That's gotta hurt, man. That's gotta really hurt if you're an SDSU.
Just be glad you won today, because if you'd lost this game to UND, you'd be pulling out what hair you have left over that Indiana State game even more. But no, I think it's just hard. I mean, I don't know. When I went to that UND USD game on November 1st, I went there thinking, man, UND might actually be the second best team in this conference, and maybe they're going to end up being the best if they can take out North Dakota State. And they were never the same. They've never been the same since they played USD down in the Dome. Obviously, they kind of shot their wad a little bit against NDSU. Kaminsky has been, he had some moments today where he was kind of back to what he was, but then he also had a really bad pick and then a fumble. It's just, he's been very turnover prone. I don't know. They've dealt with some injuries. It's just they're definitely not in a good place. But I just can't justify putting them with the quality of their schedule, with their strength of schedule. They got a couple decent wins, and New Hampshire, to me, some of the other teams that are on that bubble, I can't put them in over them. As much as I want, you kind of want there to. Much as the stakes felt that high today, you just, like you said, the bubble kind of worked out in their favor. I still don't know that if SDSU had lost this game, that you would have put them in, because going in on a 5-game losing streak is different, especially when you don't know if the starting – and we still don't know if Chase Mason's going to play. I've said that if I were SDSU fans, I'd kind of give up that ghost, and if he shows up, great. But I think going in on a 5-game losing streak, including a loss to Indiana State, would have been a little tougher for them to get in on. But it would have been an interesting. They would have been sweating it out. But I think UND is in a better place at 7-5 than SDSU would have been at 7-5.
But who knows what that bunch is going to do, man? Every year
they'll always throw a curve or two
right.
or five.
Every year you sit there and you go, wait a minute, what do you mean there's 2 Patriot League teams? What do you mean? And the chairman of the committee is from the Patriot League. What a crazy random happenstance, right? And so we'll see. But I don't know. It's going to be very interesting to see how that all shakes out, because, like I said, you never know what those guys are going to do and what they're going to value. Sometimes what they say they're going to value, they don't value at all. And sometimes they do. I think it's just the leadership of it and who can run it and who's willing, if for what league, to pound their fist on the table in that room and say, this team should be in. And I think you can just tell by the conferences that really give a shit with just how they're posting things on Twitter and on socials. The Southland gives a damn. They might not be the best conference, but at least they're advocating for their teams. The UAC gives a damn. They're advocating for their teams. And I just don't understand why we're not seeing other leagues do that. And what else are you getting paid for in the conference office but to advocate for the teams that are in your league?
I got to say, there's been a lot more politicking this year than in years past, and I'm for it. I think it's great. Some of it makes me laugh. Like you mentioned, the Southland, they are going in, and God bless them. They're going in full bore. They don't give a damn whether what they say is a little wild or not. They're Southeastern Louisiana, top 8 seed worthy. Come on now. All right. I think they should be in too, but let's not relax. But then we get jokers like Brian. Ivy is getting 2 in is an effing crime. Who else are you going to have in though, Brian? Who deserves it more?
Yeah.
What do we want here? Are we going to pick a
schedule for Harvard? It was just an absolute murderer's row, man.
Right.
Come on.
Right.
Stetson, Holy Cross, and Merrimack. What they play? The Ironclad? That's was the Monitor unavailable to play them? So they just settled with the Merrimack? instead. I
Look at
mean, and you look at who other people have played out of conference, and you're like, wait a minute. And you got beat by Yale? I don't care how good you've looked. Part of me says that Harvard should stay home, that loss today to Yale was kind of, what's the word I'm looking for here? I don't know. Yes, where you can't be in if you do that. And I know rivalry game. I might buy that more if it was close, but it wasn't. So it's disqualifying is the word that I was looking for in my brain there. And whoever asked, yes, I am holding my microphone. The lovely Miss Marshall is in the spot where I normally do things from.
And she doesn't want you doing this next to her. Why?
And she's got red hair and freckles, and I have a tendency to do whatever the hell it is she tells me to do. So, yeah.
You know, I mean, it is kind of easy to forget because it's not like the Pioneer League where it's. I mean, the Ivies do put money into it, but it still is technically a non-scholarship league. So, you know, I don't know. I mean, I would kind of hate to push Harvard all the way out of the playoffs after having the year they did. But yeah, that is you know, I mean, I know I've given you crap a lot a couple of years ago when Furman lost that game to a 1-7. I mean, now granted, Yale's a lot better than than that Wofford team was a few years ago. But you know, the game's got to matter, and you can't lay an egg there at the end and then expect to have, still be eating, filet mignon when the playoffs come around.
The question becomes, though, like, who would you replace them with? Because I don't think any of us four are banging the table for New Hampshire at 8-4. Are y'all want a 7-5 Austin P? 7-5.
I think they would be a better. I think Austin P would be a better team. I think Lafayette would be a better choice. I mean, is the Patriot League better than the Ivy, top to bottom? Probably.
This is we're still on Zach's one here. Yeah, I mean, if Austin P wins that game, they're probably the one you really pound the table for.
Absolutely.
They would have been a lock at 8-4.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And they have an FBS win. I mean, it's Middle Tennessee. It's not the greatest one in the world, but that's an 85 scholarship team. Yeah,
but they beat the hell out of Austin, out of Middle Tennessee State. Like, they won by what, 20?
Yeah. I mean,
I just pulled it up,
as many points as Yale beat Harvard today by.
If NAU wins, they're probably in, but they
don't. I don't know.
I didn't think they deserved to be in last year. NAU, but
I didn't either.
Me.
I mean, I've seen a couple where I've seen one where Southern Utah is in the bracket. I don't really put.
I think Southern Utah. Like, if you told me that Harvard couldn't be in, and I had to pick a team to replace them, I would bang the table for Southern Utah to be in over the rest of these bubble teams.
You and Jamie Williams both. So there's that.
Or Austin P. Those would be the two choices there, because I don't think William and Mary at 7-5 has an argument.
No.
I don't think New Hampshire is that good at 8-4. And we saw what happened. That they put New Hampshire as what was it, the 16 seed last year, and they got beat 41-0
by UT Martin. Right.
They don't belong in. Sacramento State for sure doesn't belong in.
No.
Northern Arizona and SIU don't belong in. And so it's Austin P or Southern Utah for me if you're taking someone out.
It would be kind of funny to watch Sac State get murdered by NDSU or Montana State one more time, but
Oh, they wouldn't make it that far. They would lose in the first
round.
Wouldn't.
It would be funny to watch maybe lose to like Drake or somebody in the first round. But I jest.
Well, and who knows that we don't know how they're going to judge the Ivy yet in the committee's eyes, because they're a new conference. Are they going to get like a Pioneer League type treatment where just your conference champion gets in for now?
Oh, you mean like the SoCon treatment this year? That kind of treatment?
Don't lose to a non-scholarship team twice.
Presbyterian's pretty good, man. Their quarterback would play for a lot of teams in the Valley.
They didn't even win the Pioneer League, man.
That's a murderer's row, man. I mean, pioneer gonna pioneer, man. You get on the covered wagon, bro.
Right? Yeah.
You get on the covered wagon in that league, and you pioneer across the football season, man.
Look, man, I am all about it, and I am a big proponent of the SoCon when I can be. But God, sometimes you guys make it hard.
I can't even be this year, man. It's I mean, we got the best player in the country. I don't care what other people say. Teron Dickens, the best FCS football player in the country, and it's not close. And Kerwin Bell can't win. I know he didn't play because I
Speaking
know
of
what I
politics,
heard, and academic issues. But if he plays, Western Carolina is a playoff team. They would have been a top 10 team weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just how that thing has gone this year for that particular old league. This is what's crazy to me. Guy today for Furman, Trey Hedden, set the all-time Southern Conference yardage record for Furman University. Think about some of the dudes that have played quarterback at Furman over the years. And he's got 2 more years, folks. So, I mean,
hopefully
things are looking up.
Hopefully. You never know in the portal era, man.
And Kevin, you didn't even mention, I know people like to, crap on the SoCon sometimes, but ETSU might be 3 plays away from being like 9-2.
Absolutely.
Right
and
now.
They have 2 ringers at quarterback. And how you don't win with a guy that put up numbers at North Carolina and a guy that, played pretty decently in the big whatever, how many teams there are now in that league.
Yep.
And you struggle today to beat the Citadel by 2 points at home. Get out of town, man.
Yeah. Because they blew a 2-score lead against Chattanooga. They blew a 2-score lead against someone else, and then blew it against West Georgia too.
It's Bryce Lance by a mile, Brian Thompson says. All right, Brian, you know what? I have never been prouder of a defensive back at the school that I went to more than I was Bradley Jones in that first game of the year against NDSU versus the Citadel. Bryce Lance finally saw a dude he couldn't run by, and he was a non-factor in the game. Bradley Jones is the Southern Conference indoor-outdoor 100-meter champion. So track star speed. And Bryce Lance was 4 catches,
Southern
24
speed.
yards. 4 catches, 24 yards in that ball game, something like that. So, no, Cole Payton showed out that game. Bryce Lance didn't. Cole Payton is the best player on the NDSU football team. I don't think there's any doubt in my mind about that.
So, something I want to bring up as we're talking some bracket things that is a common misconception that comes up all the time. Raphael, I'm not picking on you. I've seen this comment a couple times. Raphael says they shouldn't have UC Davis on Montana State's side of the bracket. They already played. Put them on Montana's side of the bracket. No, that's not how that works. The way it works is you cannot be a first-round matchup. So with Montana State getting a bye, that out the window. That doesn't matter anymore. So you absolutely can have rematches in the second round. It's the first round that they have to avoid them. That's what the rule is. They can't have a rematch in the first round. So
and the hope is
the breaks. Tough shit.
The hope is that by seeding the whole thing, they're not going to have as much regionalization because obviously that was a bigger deal. We'll see how that's the other thing that's going to be interesting to see with this bracket is, will we actually get something that's in theory going to avoid the regionalization? Are there going to be, I've still seen some brackets that suggest you could see a lot of conference rematches in the second round, even though we have this 16 seeds now. So that'll be kind of interesting to see. I'm very curious to see how we talk about what will the committee do. Well, this is kind of it's a fun new thing to throw in there because we have not yet seen how the committee is going to seed this when it's, I still go back to the days when Montana just bought all their home games when there was no seeding in a smaller playoff. So it's a little bit different now. But yeah, I'm kind of curious to see if we're truly going to get a more widespread playoff, or if we're still going to see those potentially regionalized second round matchups. Hopefully not.
I hope they take advantage of the no rematches in the first round by putting people who share a conference together who did not play one another to play football in that first round. That would be a damn good way to cure our friends in the Northeast from ever making a schedule again like they did this year. Oh, yeah, you can make the playoffs, but you're going to have to play each other. Perfect.
Well,
Perfect.
And Johnny Banks says no rematches of conference opponents. No, it is opponents you've played. It's not just conference opponents.
Yeah.
I'm 99% sure it's the rule. It's not just conference opponents. It's any opponent. The other thing is, if anyone wants to, if you have the absolute gall to come on to the SDSU podcast and complain to me about having to see a conference opponent in the playoffs, you need to stop. SDSU has played NDSU more times in the playoffs than any team has played another team in the playoffs, period. That's facts. That is the way it is. I don't want to hear it. I don't care.
It didn't work
Rant
out
time.
all
Put a
right.
clock. Go.
Didn't work
Rant.
out all right in the national championship, though.
Yeah, well, national champ. What are you gonna do about the national championship?
Yeah,
I know,
there ain't
but,
nothing you can do for that. Because I don't know if y'all watched the brawl today. Sign me up for part 2 in Bozeman in the semis. I hope they keep Montana as the 3.
I think that's part of the reason. I like I said, I've heard the. I think you made good points about why Montana could be slipped down to 4, but I think the committee is going to try, and doesn't mean it'll play out that way, even though those are both pretty good home field advantages, which are very tough for anybody to go into. But I think the committee is going to try and keep that potential for a Brawl of the Wild semifinal set up. But we'll see. I mean, this is the first time since 28. This is really the first time since 2018 the game's even been close, and first time since 2018 the road team won. So
I don't think you can put Lehigh in front of Montana, can you? I mean, with the
I don't even want to put them in front of Tarleton.
Right.
Frankly.
Right.
But,
well, the Tarleton State president unfollowed our show when I dropped them when they lost. So, that was
really
nice.
That's crazy.
That was nice. Hey, we want you to come down here and
USA here.
Yeah,
right now.
We want you to come down here and cover a game. We'd love to have you. I'm unfollowing you because you rated my team accurately. That gotta love it. But that's FCS football for you. At least he cares.
I love when official athletic people get in their feelings like that.
I know it's the greatest. It's the greatest.
Remember Zach?
In the world, right?
A couple of years you were talking about that with USD. They got mad about somebody.
Or USD, went the SID gave me a passionate email.
I'm gonna write a strongly worded letter to this gentleman.
He real strongly worded letter. We squashed it though. We squashed it.
And of course, this year you had the USDI athletic director making everybody's friends by cracking back at the president.
I got an email after the playoff show last year that I was on with y'all, where a guy called me a clay eater, and I had to go and look that up. And that's that's like an insult towards Southerners that hadn't been used since the 1870s. And I thought it hard to be mad at a guy who can pull something out like that.
You sure it wasn't a fax that they tried to send you with that phrase on it?
Who knows, man? You clay eater. I was, man, that's
what?
That's gonna call me a scallywag next.
You got to get that guy on with you to get some more phrases. Oh my God!
You're not kidding.
So what I'm very interested to see is how SDSU is going to get treated when they do the seeds, right? Because resume wise, of the 8-4 teams, it's hard to find somebody who just on paper has a better resume. You're not going to find anybody with a better win in that tax bracket, so to speak, than Montana State on the road. All their ranked wins are road wins against ranked teams, against North Dakota on the road, Montana State on the road, Youngstown State on the road. 2 of them pretty impressive comebacks. But then does that get weighted against their kind of on a skid and pulled that out of the fire at UND when they've lost 4 out of their last 5? I'm curious how that gets weighted back and forth between the 2 of them. And looking at yours, Zach, compared to Sam's, it looks like there will be some different going-ons there as well. Between, Sam has them at 12. I think you have SDSU around 13, 14.
I think 13.
And the other thing is, do they, I said this week that when the film was coming out of Chase Mason at practice, I don't think it has anything to do with trying to dupe UND or Dom Izzo either. Dom, nobody cares that you're mad about that. I love you, dude, but I know you're just mad because you're a media member that you're not getting the info you want. I'm sorry. But I think that was to show the committee, like, no, Chase is actually healing, like he's working towards coming back. And I think they genuinely suited it up to see if he really could go today, and that was part of the warm-up, to genuinely see if he could play.
I do think Matt Zimmer's saying that he wasn't sprinting at all during those warm-ups is also pretty telling. One thing to be out there throwing, but especially for him, if he's not running and doing the full motion, then that's also pretty telling. So, but yeah, I agree. I think they're at least trying to keep, especially if they had lost this game, they've got to try and keep that nugget in the back of people's mind that he could still come back. But yeah, I kind of agree with you on that point.
Kid can't go out there until he can protect himself, man.
Right.
You can't go out there until you can protect yourself.
Well, and that's another thing too. They still haven't technically revealed what the injury is.
Right.
But whenever he goes out there, they're going to be gunning for those legs. If he does get back out there, people are going to be like, every hit he's going to be taking is going to be pretty low, which is probably given anyway. But when he's out there, people are going to be targeting that part, the foot, the leg, whatever. So, boy, I mean, it's like I said, I've said this to SDSU fans, and I think I even said this a couple weeks ago after the Indiana State game. I don't know that I would count on him returning. If I'm an SDSU fan, I would just say, if he comes back, merry early Christmas, awesome. But I think you kind of have to, at this point, ride with what you got to play the hand you're dealt at this point. And that's, I think the coach, as much as the coaching staff has taken some criticism, they've done a fairly decent job of adjusting to it. I think the other thing is, it's funny, we talk about the seeding possibilities. If you're an SDSU fan, do you really want to be at home? Because they've actually played better, so much better on the road. Even when they were healthy, they weren't really that what was their most impressive home win when Chase Mason was actually starting, when this team was healthy? I mean, was it Sac State? Maybe, but the offense was pretty skittish in that game. They had 8 sacks. Mercyhurst, okay. I mean, their best games by far have been on the road against Youngstown, Montana State, today. Even in the USD loss, compared to the other losses, they had a chance to win that game, and they looked much better. So, obviously for a long-term playoff run, it's probably not sustainable to go super far, although we did see them make a semifinal a couple of years ago, having to go crisscross the country. But I just something about this group seems to respond better being on the road and being in, just kind of having to be in tighter quarters, and especially depending on whatever draw they get. Are you all that worried about going to Lehigh? I mean, we'll see.
Yeah, G. Drommel trying to troll. He must be a Montana fan, saying there's probably more fans in the stands when they play on the road in the playoffs. You obviously don't watch FCS football. You don't know ball, you don't watch FCS football if that's what you think, because the playoffs are not known for their raucous giant crowds anywhere. Fargo in the first round is Fargo in the first round is a freaking ghost town. Oh, Montana not sold out in the first round either, by the way. So anyways, I do like the road that you got us on at the 13 seed with Lehigh as a 4 in Tarleton. I'd much rather that than having to go to Montana and then Montana State. But yeah, I don't know who would be your guys' y'all's dark horses in the playoffs here to go on a run from the hey, you guys, which one of you guys are going for which one of those guys do you think is going to be the dark horse out of the first round there? Hey,
you may think I'm crazy for saying this, but I'm going to agree with Stone Lemanowitz. I think the team that has played the best at times could be Abilene Christian. They have looked like an elite FCS team several times this year. They've also looked like complete stinkers several times this year. If they can put a couple of those really elite performances together, they're a team that can give some people some problems.
Yeah, Abilene Christian is that weird team. They play down to their competition, but every time you put them up against an elite team, they like find a way to like turn it on. And so I do think depending on the bracket, they could make an interesting run. I'll be very curious, Matt. Listen, Youngstown State has been playing up to the competition too. Like they depending on the matchup, I think Youngstown with Brungar, because he just brings something that is so hard to scheme for. And in a playoff kind of bracket where you only got that one, you don't know who you're playing next, and you only got a few days to scheme for them. That's a hard scheme to prepare for. So I would think Youngstown is a team that could be real dangerous depending on the draw, I would say.
Yeah,
You could also run QB power 40 times if you had to, because they're certainly not averse to the Tommy Millott offense, right? So, I mean, there's that. You line up with the extra blocker and say, all right, let's go. You have an opportunity, and he can spin it too. The kid's a player. There's no doubt.
I'm of the same mind with the other Zach here. It's Youngstown for me. I think Brungard is just such a unique weapon, and they've gotten a little better sneakily defensively. I mean, look, who's the only team that's actually hung with NDSU this year? Who's the only team that's gone into Fargo and hung with NDSU? And really, other than SDSU the last couple of years and USD 1 year, I mean, Brungard's such a weapon. And who's the last? Technically, it's been a while now. The last unseeded team to make the title game was Youngstown State back in, I think it was 2016, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, they seem to be. I mean, again, I know they got a little hairy today against UNI, but kind of a garbage time game, whatever. But yeah, I think Brungard is just such a weapon. Abilene Christian's an interesting team to me, and I just, we'll see. I don't know. I kind of want to see whoever gets on the end of Montana's bracket, because I still don't. I think Montana State, I'm pretty confident in. I'm pretty confident in NDSU, but I have some lingering questions about the Grizzlies that, even though they play, you can't get too down on them because they played a 2 or 3 point game today, but I just still have some questions about that team that I'm not ready to say, they're a lock to make the semifinal if they're the 3 seed or if they're the 3 seed.
Pass defense is a question. I mean, on that long touchdown run that Lamson had today, he just didn't have time to throw the guy to the ball who had his hand up saying, hey, there's nobody within 12 yards of me. And that was an easy touchdown pass, but he just decided to run with it. But the pass defense is a question mark for the Grizz, and it has been for a while. And if they run into somebody like a Tarleton or somebody like an Abilene Christian who's just going to spread you out, 5 wide receivers and throw the ball down the field all day, that could be a problem for Montana.
And they played with some fire this year. I mean, I believe it was Eastern Washington and kind of had them on the ropes a little bit. I'm trying to remember
fumbled spike.
Yeah, the fumbled spike. Yeah, it was brutal.
They've been playing with fire. And again, I know Washington Grizzlies, one of the, the quote unquote, the Mecca. And I will attest. I've been, the one brawl, the wild game I got to cover when I was in Montana, unfortunately, was 2010. The wind chill was like 25 below zero, and it was super windy, so I didn't really enjoy that. But I know that home field advantage. I'll be curious to see how many fans they're actually packing in early on, because like we said, FCS playoffs don't. Yeah, whoever that fan is who thought that they sell a ton of tickets to every FCS game is a little off, but. Yeah,
one of the things I really like about this show, Zach, is that somebody could say, well, this Outer Mongolian team's pretty good. And you'll say, well, I covered them back in 2003, so it's, that Johnny Cash song, I've Been Everywhere, man, is about you.
But, I think the other things you had concerns about today, too. I mean, Ayat throws the pick 6 that really kind of turns the game around. You have a blocked field goal that was huge by the Montana State. So there's the defense, like you said, the pass defense, but there's all 3 levels that you walk away with some concerns. Again, it's a great Montana State team, but I wouldn't necessarily punch the Grizzlies ticket to the semifinal just because they're going to have home field potentially into that.
Well, that's been the whole thing with Montana all year, right? Where Ayat, I think when you take his season as a whole, has played much better than he did last year, obviously, and he's having a great year. But you go back and look at the individual games, there's a quarter or a half or 3 quarters where he just doesn't play well, and he's turning the football over. He's missing throws, and that's where Montana gets. Like, look at the North Dakota game, man. He made all the right plays to win that game in the fourth quarter, man. But for 3 quarters, he was horrible. So which yacht shows up is the biggest thing, because I'll tell you this: like, if this offense clicks, that they can score on anybody, because you got Gilman at running back, who's a workhorse. You got the most versatile weapon in the FCS and Wortham on the outside that can do literally everything. And Brooks Davis is becoming a pretty damn good wide receiver on the outside for them too. So offensively, they have all the weapons. It just depends on how Ayat plays, and sometimes it's not very consistent.
Well, it was also a funky year in the Big Sky too, because I mean, this year you had the Valley with a little bit more depth, even though you had the clear champion in North Dakota State. And I mean, the numbers were there for every quarterback to put up, but you don't really know until these guys, how are they going to handle it when they go up against an elite team today? And like you said, I think you mentioned the North Dakota example we saw today. I know I got some flack from Bobcat fans a while back. I was critical of Justin Lamson the first time I saw him. He's gotten a lot better, but I mean, it's a different ball game when you're in the playoffs as opposed to when you're playing kind of the middle of the pack. And this year, the Big Sky just was not. I mean, it's going to get 3 teams in, but this wasn't a Big Sky that was super deep or that had much quality in the middle. It was a year where you're going to put up some good numbers and look great, but how's it going to translate when we get to the playoffs? We're going to find out here pretty soon.
Everybody likes to pound their chest when they're right, especially me. I'm not averse to tooting my own horn, but nobody likes to admit when they're wrong. And I'll just go ahead and admit that Thumpy was right about Idaho, and I was wrong early on in the year. He called that, I don't know, man, like week 2. And I kept waiting for them to do something on offense, and they just never did. And so I'd like to take this opportunity publicly to say that Brendan was right and I was wrong. So
well, that takes
this
half
is being
the fun out of
taped
teasing
because
you.
my wife I'm going to tell her to go back and look at this.
At the hour mark. That's your easy mark to find it. No, I just like teasing you.
Nobody expected humility from Marshall in this. My mother tried to teach me some, it just didn't take.
Oh, that's a good pull. I think looking at it, like your bracket, Zach, is a nightmare for UC Davis, or not for UC Davis, for Montana. I would not want to face UC Davis in the first round. A team because I think Montana is a little bit like Fargo in the playoffs, where if you're not used to that atmosphere when you come in, you can get buried by the noise, and you get buried by that. Like teams that aren't used to it, haven't played environments like that before, that team gets something going, and you just see it over and over again. Teams just get crushed under the weight of that crowd. But having to face a UC Davis team that can score points and has an electric quarterback that plays in Montana regularly, I don't want to face that if I'm Montana. Now you get by that with your bracket, then I'm pretty happy if I'm them,
I don't know, because like Kevin said, if you look at that kind of region, it'd be the winner of UC Davis, North Dakota going to Montana. Abilene Christian could beat Illinois State in the first round, and Tennessee Tech's been kind of struggling recently. If you get Abilene Christian, Montana in the quarters, you bring that past that, like, because Kevin could tell you, like, watching Abilene Christian, that is a hard offense to stop, because people just think they go down there and throw the ball around, right? You see the big passing stats. That team is a power run game at heart.
Yep.
And that's what opens up the passing game to be so elite. That is a very, very hard offense to stop. And I think that could give the Grizz a ton of problems, because people are like, oh, air raid Southern team from Texas. They run the ball really well, and they got some playmakers at running back.
It's easy to
quarterback
forget.
is named Stone too, which is just a liability.
There you go. Just an added piece to that.
I mean, they gave North Dakota State a pretty good shot last year in Fargo before they were able to before they kind of fell off. But yeah, I mean, it's very under. I mean, they're a legit team. I mean, I don't know if they've got enough to go very far, but yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I was very impressed when I saw them in the playoffs last year, and certainly taking out Tarleton this year. They're definitely it's not a team I'd want to see walking into my building, no matter how big my building is.
Yeah, that, Abilene Christian, that's why it's such a good pull for the dark horse, because they have a good offense and all they do is beat ranked teams. They don't beat anybody else, but if you're ranked, they're probably going to, they've beaten you, which is hilarious. They're the funniest resume.
Their losses were kind of heads. Well, one of them was, right, because like the Southern Utah loss, like I think we've all kind of agreed Southern Utah got hot at the right time.
Yeah.
But that Incarnate Word game, you go back and watch
come
it.
on, Zach. You've been glazing Incarnate Word for years, man. Come on.
I thought they were going to be good.
Listen, when I was wrong. Come on.
You must have missed the show. Brendan could tell you. I ranted for 15 minutes about how I was wrong about Incarnate Word and why I was wrong.
I missed that one.
Yeah.
Good on
they're not
good. Mad at them.
Which is why it's a head-scratching loss, right? Incarnate Word hasn't played like that all year, and the one game they get Abilene Christian, they just shut everything down. That loss really kind of opened. But, man, you look at their wins. That win over Stephen F. Austin aged amazing early in the season because Stephen F. Austin is playing well right now too. So we'll see what happens with them in the postseason. But that's a huge win, and I think they reeled off like that Tarleton win was massive, man. And I loved how they ran the ball in that game, especially against the front seven with Tarleton. That's been pretty good this year.
Feel good for Rev with what SFA's done, man. They needed that.
Yes.
They've had a lot of talent for a lot of years down there, especially on the defensive and offensive line. I like that football team, and that we've gone this long without mentioning them is odd.
I will say a team I wish could have gotten in, but I know they won't now. I mentioned this earlier. I kind of wish Idaho State would have gotten a shot. I think they're on the right path. But, man, you look back at their season, lose by 7 at UNLV, who they led for most of the way, lose by 10 to Jason X New Mexico team, lose by 4 at home to Montana, swing game they could have won maybe that one. You turn one of those, you turn 2 of those around, and then, of course, they ended the season. I mean, they lose to Northern Arizona at home. I mean, so those were 2 tough home losses. I mean, a team that goes 6-6, though, I mean, they were pretty damn exciting. They ended up winning their last 4 in a row. They beat Davis, obviously, as well, which looks pretty good now. I mean, I would like to see Cody Hawkins' team in the play. It would have been fun to get the old power who won a national title a long, long time ago. Would have been fun to get them in this bracket, but, that'll probably have to wait another year or so. But, yeah, I mean, they were, to me, one of the more interesting Big Sky teams that's not going to make it just because they seem to have some good things going on up at Pocatello.
And I was not surprised that Dan came back to help Cody. I mean, it seemed like Dan Hawkins was going to walk the earth like Carradine and Kung Fu. That was going to be what his post-coaching life was going to be.
Oh, this ain't girls, brother.
But then Cody got the job there, and I'll tell you what, at Big Sky Media Day, I enjoyed talking to him almost as much as I enjoyed talking to anybody, right? I mean, his dad would be, if you asked a question, his dad didn't mind saying, well, that's a stupid question. Why are you asking me that? But Cody just answers your stupid question and you move along to the next one. So I really enjoyed that. But, yeah, 6-6 for that team. I mean, if you can do that there and sneak into the playoffs once or twice every 5-6 years, you can keep your job in Pocatello for a long time.
Yeah, it's been so long since they've actually been relevant. I mean, they were essentially tied for 4th place, but in my mind, they're probably better than Sacramento State. So, if they could have found a way to beat Montana or found a way to beat Northern Arizona, it would have been an interesting conversation if they'd gone into this at 7-5, I think. But
no, they had that
Lincoln getting fired today, man.
True.
That's the Bruce Barnum got fired today. They Lane Kiffined him on the tarmac, and I just for a guy who is a really good coach like Bruce Barnum is, when again back to Big Sky Media Day. When Bruce Barnum talks and that group of coaches, every single one of those cats listens to what he has to say. And that's not always the case in that meeting there, right? You see guys writing or looking around. But when Bruce Barnum talks, every cat in that room is listening to every word that he says. They gave him no resources. And now that he's gone, I can tell this story. When they played Hawaii to get the extra game this year, they came to him and said, so which FBS team do you want to schedule to play that 12th game, coach? After they had already had 2 scheduled, including the trip to Hawaii. Jeez. They were like, we're not going to give you a home game. Which FBS team do you want to go on the road and play for money? And we laughed about that. And so they fire this guy who will have a job anywhere he wants as a coordinator tomorrow. And who in their right mind would take the job at Portland State?
Yeah.
Someone
I
desperate
can't think
for
of
a job.
anybody.
You got a horrible facility they're playing in out at Hillsborough Stadium, which is not even in Portland. It's like in the suburbs. I mean, you know, they're still not that far removed from when they did the Jerry Glanville thing. So, you know, as much as some level of fun with that, but it was not a serious, wasn't a serious
Who else
hire
is going to
back
say shit
then.
on ESPN Plus every year during that broadcast for Media Day besides him?
I mean,
Right.
I
And
don't know.
Bruce Barnum, he's the guy who bought everybody's beers at one of their games,
Correct.
right? Yeah.
Correct.
What a legend. What a legend. That was amazing. I remember when that happened. I want to bring up quick our sponsor, Innovative Engineering, for any sort of industrial HVAC or electrical drawings that you need help with. Innovative Engineering is there for you. I'm not going to go through the whole, I've gone through the whole list a couple times on the show, and I'm going to pass out, I think, if I say it, just from losing breath if I say it tonight. But they're registered in almost every state in the union. They'll get you taken care of if you're looking at building apartment complexes or, warehouses, factories, anything along those lines. Contact Innovative Engineering. They can get you set up with professional and licensed proper HVAC and electrical engineering drawings for those buildings before you put the shovels in the dirt, so you've got the right plan going forward. So contact Innovative Engineering. But I also want to mention we have the man, one of the main engines behind Alex's Lemonade Stand. They're not a sponsor of this show, but Northwestern Mutual is a sponsor of a bunch of our other shows. Big thing going on. Started at midnight, matching up to $10,000 to any player you donate to. Obviously, we're Chase Mason, so if you donate to Chase Mason tonight, your donation is going to be matched dollar to dollar until they fill up that $10,000. It's not $10,000 per player, it's a $10,000 bucket. So if you're listening right now, you're an SDSU fan, or if you're a fan of Aiden Bauman, Taco Dollar, Cam Staghill, Bradley Jones, Julian Fox, TJ Baldwin, Donovan Woodley, Woolen, Noah Benny, Chris Presto, Eddie Casper, Micah Kent, David Abbott, Caden Vig, Jackson Pryor, Jordan Cumberbatch, Ty Pennington, or Jamal Mole, and you want to make a difference fighting childhood cancer, make a donation tonight, and your dollars will probably, if you're doing it right now, will be matched dollar for dollar by Northwestern Mutual. We got a hell of a race going on right now. This is not the up-to-date standings because ta-da, look at that. SDSU, Mr. Chase Mason, nipping at the heels of Aiden Bauman right now.
You know it's going to be good if it's SDSU and USD going at it in anything. So
they are.
And I
tip
do
of the
know
cap,
for a fact that some of these other squads have money that has been donated in the last week or maybe yesterday, but there are people waiting for this match. So, and that money is going to be gone. So my advice would be, don't wait until the morning, or after the first NFL game tomorrow, I'll get around to it. I would get on that now, so that if you're a SDSU fan, and you probably are because you're watching this show, get on that, donate now as quickly as you can. Take advantage of that. It's doubling your money, which is really an awesome thing that the Northwestern Mutual Foundation is doing.
And Montana State, Ron Lowney, looking at you, getting your asses kicked right now. So get it in gear, buddy. Although they did jump up a huge amount here tonight, over the last couple days since I last looked at this for Taco Dollar. But get your poop in a group here, Montana State fans.
Twice,
Good Lord. Well, they lose to us all the time. But even in our worst years, we're beating them in Montana State. No, Chase is we're gonna catch him. I got to do. I get a. It's for a good cause, so I'm gonna tip the cap to Aiden Bauman and the USD podcasts. They've been doing a great job raising money. They've done a ton of things. They've gone really well, so good for them. They've got a huge amount of money raised as well. We keep pushing for Chase, and I think we will as SDSU fans, I think we'll have to be approaching $100,000 total over the years that we've raised. So that's pretty exciting. But right now the total's up to 74,445. Let's get that over 100,000 after this weekend, folks. So that's a really cool deal. I wanted to share that. If you are looking to find the link, since I talk about it all the time, I'm going to put the link in the comments, but you can also go to fcsnationradio.com and then go ahead and click under the menu and click on Alex's Lemonade Stand. And you'll get to see all the standings. Click on the name of the player that you want to donate to. And then you can donate under their name from there. So go to Alex's Lemonade Stand and help fight childhood cancer, or be for childhood cancer. You know, this is America. You're free to be what you want. So anyway, I got someone real mad about that I say that. And let me tell you, if you're mad because you were affected by cancer, and you're mad that I said that, you have no idea how much cancer's affected my life. Let's be honest. If you think you're the only one anywhere, everybody's been affected by cancer. Cancer sucks. I will use whatever phrase I have to get people to donate to fight that, so you can get over yourself. So anyways,
I was going to say, back to where we were before that, you brought up the Portland State coach, Barnum, and I think interesting segue because it brings up something we kind of all forgot about because it happened so long ago now. But I know when a lot of people think of Portland State recently, they think of what happened a year ago with the whole whooping cough thing, that game getting canceled, which might have cost USD a little bit last year in their seeding because obviously now they also had a Division II game in last year, which didn't help them matters either. But I mean, they lost a Division I game out of it, and it kind of reminds me this year, Kevin, for your SoCon, what if that Mercer and UC Davis game had finished?
Right.
What a boost!
You're right.
What a boost that! I mean, that's something that's, obviously Davis, they were kind of, their playoff lives were on the line a little bit today with if they had lost to Sac State. I mean, if Mercer wins that game, if that game doesn't become a no contest, if Mercer wins, you're talking about probably bumping them up to at least a 6, maybe a 5. Because most projections I see are having them as a 7. If Davis wins, they're almost certainly a seed. I mean, I've still seen some people who have them, or a top 8 seed. I've still seen some people who have Davis as a top. So it's interesting to me. We've kind of all, I don't want to say it's been brushed under the rug, but we kind of forgot because it happened so long ago. This is the second straight year, a game that, and this one maybe has a little more, I don't know if it has more impact or less, but it's kind of interesting. I think that one, we've kind of forgotten the impact that could have had on that could have on the seeding, because that would have been a nice win for either Davis or Mercer to have taken into tomorrow's Selection Sunday.
Well, this is the most NCAA thing that you'll ever have heard, if it's true. I have heard from some people that the game doesn't count, but that the NCAA is counting that game as a game for redshirting purposes. So, I mean, is that not the most, like, if you played in that game, it counts as one of your 4 games, but the game itself is
that's
like it never
insane.
happened. Is that not the most NCAA thing you've ever heard in your life?
Check out.
Gross.
Yep.
That's gross.
I'm trying to
makes
run
me
down
nauseous.
if that's true or not, but it's late.
Correct.
I can put it out there and somebody else can run it down for me maybe. But yeah, that's what I've heard. So, but if you're Mercer, you just don't lose to PC.
Yeah, that too.
Right. I mean, that's pretty simple. And if you're Western Carolina, you get your quarterback to go to class. That's a thing that probably needs to be done. You don't lose to Gardner-Webb, who,
Yeah.
I mean, they lost to Western Illinois today. Gardner-Webb did. And that was a team that nobody was talking about, and which just shows you the level of discourse among these conferences that aren't the Valley, that aren't the Big Sky, that aren't the CAA, that aren't the SoCon. They were going to be 8-4 with a ranked win if they had beat Western Illinois today. And Zach, would you have had them on the bubble? Because I don't think anybody did, period, last week.
I don't think I saw anyone have them on the bubble, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-mm. Yeah, I didn't see anybody having Gardner-Webb on the bubble. I can't believe they lost to Western Illinois like that. When
Yeah, that's
in
such a
theory,
bad loss.
Playoffs are on the line, and you lose to Western.
What was the last time Western Illinois and Murray State won a game on the same weekend?
Well, I can tell you, I think I remember the last time they hurt someone's playoff chances by winning the last game of the season. I'm pretty familiar with that story. If I remember right. That was a monsoon ice storm poopy day. It's I remember when that happened. That wasn't a good time.
Oh God.
So Labanowitz asked me last week if somebody gave me $1,000, would I take, and it wasn't my own money, would I take North Dakota State or the field? I think that's an interesting question for everybody here. I'm already on record saying if it's somebody else's money, I'm going to take the field. I don't know how y'all feel about it.
If it's somebody else's money.
I mean, obviously, when they came into Brookings and then put the hammer down, it was pretty easy to say at that point it was going to be North Dakota State. But and the other thing too was apparently Cole Payton came up limping today in their game against St. Thomas. So
yes,
now Nathan Hayes, I think they're pretty excited about him too. So I think it's not like I don't think there's going to be quite the drop off we've seen with SDSU because I think they're a little more confident in what they've got with him, and he's been in their system a little longer. But, I don't know. I think they've looked – ever since that SDSU game, they've not quite looked as dominant. Youngstown gave them a game. Obviously, UND gave them a game. So, but, they're going to have the number 1 seed. They should, in theory, have the easiest path there. But you never know. I mean, they could I think they were kind of getting glazed a little early on as well. This could be one of the best Bison teams of all time, and I think we've all kind of shifted. Like, okay, let's park the car on that one. But it would be I'm kind of with you on that, Kevin. If it's my own money, I'd probably take NDSU, but I wouldn't be shocked if they're going to get a scare somewhere in the quarterfinal or the semifinal. I think there's something. I mean, they don't get off to good starts in games. The notable exception being in Brookings, ironically. They've gotten off to some sluggish starts. We'll see what the crowds are. They've gotten better crowd. That Polisek really pounds the paint to try and get that place sold out. But we know there's apathy for playoff games there. Could an Abilene Christian, like we saw last year, Abilene Christian went in there and pushed them for a while. I don't know if Abilene Christian's going to be on that side of the bracket, but could somebody else do that? Maybe come in and catch them sleeping a little bit, or come in and catch that dome kind of, a little quiet or whatever. It wouldn't shock me, but, in theory, they'll probably have an easier time. And, who knows? Maybe they'll see, but they might see another Valley team too. Maybe they'll see a Youngstown or an SDSU or a USD somewhere early on. And I would venture that maybe the second time around those games are a lot different than they were the first.
I mean, we're kind of familiar with that. This is a South Dakota State show, right? Where the second matchup is different than the first one.
We've been there before, like that one time, and that other time, and then the other time before that, and the other time, and then the other time before that.
That's just the nature sooner or later, doesn't it? One of these years, it has.
Could you imagine could you imagine? And I'll say this: I don't think it happens. Specifically, SDSU beating NDSU in the playoffs this year, for obvious reasons, but also on top of that, because I think something that Polisek does not get enough credit for is he is a phenomenal coach when it comes to a big game. I think he does he does a really, really good job of getting his team locked in, ready to go. Just from watching the marker games against Entz as the coach compared to Polisek, and granted, those were better SDSU teams, but these NDSU teams have been far more locked in, far more lathered up for those games, and I think he's an incredible coach for that. So, on one hand, I would, your natural thought is you don't want to play him in Fargo, but I wouldn't want to play him in Frisk or in Nashville either, because he's going to have them locked, and I don't know if I want them to have that much prep time for my team.
And it's interesting.
I would take NDSU.
It's interesting because people. I mean, it's easy to bag on Entz, who's not done a bad job this year at Fresno State, by the way. But like most of the players that are on this team are still Matt Entz's recruits, so it's not like the talent wasn't there. Obviously, those SDSU teams were super loaded, but it's not like we're really seeing Polisek doing this with mostly his recruits. He's mostly doing this with Matt Ince's players still. So, to that, I think, that kind of strengthens the point you just made.
I still think so. To Kevin's point, like I do think this field has enough good teams in it where we could see a little bit of parity in some places, but even with someone else's money, I'm still probably putting it on NDSU. I just don't see how, like right now, I don't know outside of maybe Montana State, if they play up to their potential that we saw today, I don't see a team that I'm taking right now if I was picking 1v1 with NDSU. And I think a lot of it has to do with what Brendan said. It's they just never beat themselves. Like, especially that we haven't seen them really do that outside of maybe the USD game under Polisek, that last game of the season last year where they lost on the weird last play. But you just look at how they're always good on these like money downs, third down in the red zone, and they force a key turnover here, or Cole Payton makes a spectacular play with his legs outside the pocket. They just always find a way to win. I would still take NDSU because I do think they're the heavy favorite, but I do think as the overall playoff, I'd still think there's going to be a little bit more parity than maybe we're used to seeing in the first few rounds.
Don't they have to have a game sometime where they put it on the ground 3 or 4 times, or somebody
You would
steps
think-
in front of a couple of? I mean, I just it's.
They do
I
it in
don't
the
know,
regular-
man. It's like rooting for the Yankees or the Cowboys, or the Patriots back in the day, right? I mean, I'm a natural lover of the underdog. I think everybody is for one way or another. I mean, but when you set yourself up for that, like, rooting for the Citadel on Saturdays and the Falcons on Sunday is like taking the pistol they issue you when you commission and blowing off your left pinky toe and then blowing off your right one because it felt really good the first time. All right. So
I just think you're blowing stuff off to not feel anything after a point.
I mean, but they have to have a bad game at some point. They have to run into somebody who does everything right. But it hasn't mattered. And that's what's been so impressive about what they've done with 19 different head coaches over the years. and I mean, like listening to our friends in Fargo last week talking about how everybody hates NDSU and nobody will vote for their guys.
Oh,
I don't hate NDSU, man. I admire the shit out of what they do. I mean, it's the gold standard. And unlike a lot of folks who cover FCS football, a lot of people who do this for a living have come into it after the Dakotas have been in it. I mean, I've seen them all, man, and like they just showed that App had their 2005 team reunion that won the national championship. I remember just about everything about that team, right? And so there's never been anything like this. We've had some teams that have had some runs, but Lord of mercy. And that's why it's so impressive what you all have done, dethroning them for the time that you did. Whether that time is over, well, we have playoffs for that, don't we? But they just don't help you. And you would think at some point in like 15 years, the ball wouldn't bounce their way. But at some time you have to say you make your own luck. And the ball bounces out and their guy is right there to pick it up. That's coaching, man. And they've had just a level of that has been unprecedented in the 45 years I can remember 1AA or FCS football. There's never been anything like it.
I mean, the only times it's really happened, I mean, I can go back to, I can count them on my own hand, and they're all regular season. It was 2017 when they lost in Brookings, and I think they turned it over 5 times that day. 2021 they lose in Brookings, and they turn it over 3. To your point, they do have these games. It doesn't happen in the playoffs for them. 2023 they lose at home to USD in a stunner, and when they got down 21-24-3, I think. And even the last year, like you mentioned it, Zach, that weird game, which is really Polisek's only black mark, was, I mean, they had like a 10-point lead with a couple minutes to go, and you thought it was safe, and they ended up blowing it. I mean, it is coaching. I mean, and obviously they're at home, as you pointed out over the years, Kevin, with your SoCon teams usually getting funneled there. The Fargo Dome, whether it's 19,000 or whatever the attendance number is now, that's just a tough place for people to go play. I remember James Madison a couple times. I mean, the one that really stuck out to me, because the only time they've really been drilled in the playoffs was, of course, the national title game SDSU won in 2022. But that semifinal before, Incarnate Word, this is for you, Zach. I mean, Cam Miller completed like one pass in that game.
Yeah, 1 for 12 or something like that.
And that was a very banged up NDSU team. They were not really healthy.
You speak about that game. What about you remember the controversial fumble call at the end of the game that went NDSU's way?
I mean, you know, in a place like that, they're going to probably get a call or two. But one pass, a one-dimensional team against I think it was Lindsey Scott, if I'm not mistaken.
Lindsey Scott.
No, Lindsey Scott. I'm like, I think if it had been Incarnate Word and SDSU in that title game, that would have been a much tougher title. I still think SDSU probably wins.
Yeah, they definitely do.
To this day, I don't know how they won that game against Incarnate Word. That's still
look at
blows my mind.
Look at the NDSU team, like you guys talk about. It was they have 4 losses coming into the playoffs a few years ago. That year they lost to UND early, and guys, they go to the playoffs. Montana State outplays them all game, and like their 5th string left tackle blocks an extra point to win that game, and they make a semifinal run and almost knock off Montana in Missoula to go to the national title. Like, that team had no business being there, and it's just like there was these little moments that just led up to them almost making a run to the national title.
And it set the stage for what happened last year. I mean,
speaking about our friends in Fargo, Stone Labanowitz may be an idiot, but that guy don't know him well enough to know that. All right, I do, and if I call him that, it's warranted. Like, that guy don't know him well enough. And I guarantee you when he was playing, he knew how to pronounce his name. I damn guarantee you he knew how to pronounce Labanowitz when Stone was the quarterback for Southern Illinois.
Well, he was the one who ended their long winning streak, I believe. It was during the
they murdered him at
they still don't want to count it. They still in Fargo they don't count the spring season. I know, but
neither does Bobby Howe, but
But
that rant was the prime example of what happens when a media member doesn't set away their fandom when speaking on the radio. That thing made me want to throw up. Like, he is the worst.
But I mean,
that being said, let's have a 30-minute conversation about the Citadel. Go.
Let's do it. Can I say this, Maurice? Listen, Drayton is one of my favorite coaches to talk to.
I've known that guy a long time, and it's cool to see. And there's a fella, and I'm going to go to bat here, and then I'll shut up. There's a fella who's his special teams coach. His name is Tony Coaxum.
He's a head coach.
Tony, West Point grad, coached the DBs at West Point for a long time, former Army captain. He was on the staff with the Broncos in Super Bowl 50. He's got a Super Bowl ring. He started the program at Bluefield State in West Virginia. And they had a nice time there until the school didn't want to support the football team anymore. So he moved down there, and Coach Drayton hired him. He's been in Northern Colorado, too. If there are teams who are looking for head coaches, Tony Coaxum is a guy who should be on their list. And I'll shut up after that.
Every single HBCU that has a head coach opening should have Tony Coaxum on the interview list.
Yep.
I will back.
I don't care if it's an HBCU or not.
Oh yeah, no.
I mean, you got to have that guy in the interview room.
Yep.
He's an impressive guy.
And you're going the hard way with the schools you're mentioning. You're not taking the easy routes there. You're going to places that takes a little more than some TLC to build up.
Well, if you saw what he was working with at Bluefield State, like if you follow D2 HBCU football, Bluefield State is like, I mean, it was an impossible job. So don't let his head coaching record fool you. Like, the dude is one of the best coaches in the country. And you talk about how good the special teams for the Citadel has been. He's had the best punter in the country for like 2 years now as well. So, but I mean, I am curious though this year, man, like looking at the first round, I kind of talked about this earlier. I don't know about y'all, man. I'm excited about this postseason. I feel like the first round and potential second round matchups we can get, like they're going to be some insane games. And I know a lot of people just look at the first round as like, oh, it's all blowouts and this and that. And yeah, maybe Drake or Central Connecticut State might get blown out, but there are some like must-see primetime television level matchups that we're going to get in the first 2 rounds this year.
I'm excited too. This sign behind me, let me point right there. says we interrupt this marriage for football season. So I'm going to put a little piece of paper over that says playoffs. So,
Yep.
and that's look, my team's not in it, but I'm as excited for this year as I've been for the FCS playoffs in a long time.
I think it's for what's been said about the FCS, it's truly the best playoff system they have of anything the NCAA offers, because obviously we're not going to really go into what the FBS is for right now. That's a whole, but every conference champion gets in.
Yes.
There's chances. I mean, unlike Division II and Division III, I mean, we're sitting here in Sioux Falls. We had a 9-2 team get left out. I mean, it's one of those things where, I think in this playoff, not that the committee gets it right all the time. Are they going to leave a team out? Sometimes it's probably deserving. Sure. Are they going to mess up seeding? Yeah. But you know what? At least to me, it's the most fair and equitable playoff system you have among the NCAA's divisions. And this year it's interesting because it's all granted, although it's going to be the same top two seeds with NDSU and Montana State, there's a lot of breaks with the norms. We're seeing some some different teams rise up. We're seeing some teams that we'd seen previously be kind of high in the pecking order are having to start in this, are going to be playing on Thanksgiving. So I think there's, I don't know, maybe parity is the right word. I don't know if that's it, but it's definitely a different looking playoff. And even the fact they're seeding at 1-16, I think just adds a new element to it as well. So I'm definitely more intrigued for it. I think in the first round, perhaps more so than I've been in a long time. I mean, this first round, I think genuinely there are some interesting matchups that could get birthed out of this.
Well, first round of the FCS playoffs is my favorite weekend of the year every year. I love it. And I'm going to be out by my mom's in Milwaukee for Thanksgiving this year. So I'm not going to be, this will be the first SDSU home game I've missed in a long time.
Well, by the way, you're going to be a little bit warmer because the look of it, it's going to be 29 and it could be precipitation.
Right.
That's what I saw in the forecast.
And those are my favorite games. God damn it.
It's true.
But
you ain't no domer.
No, I'm an outside football for lifer. But that being said, my crusade that I will die on the hill of is the Team A from the Big Sky or Missouri Valley would win the NEC. So who cares? I don't care. I don't give a shit. The NEC should have a team in because they won their conference. You should get in for winning your conference. What drives me nuts is I know every single person who makes that argument as an FCS fan complains about the FBS playoff or the March Madness where they don't let enough mid-majors in. But then they pull the exact same crap when they're in a power conference in the FCS, and that drives me bananas. Yes, are there blowouts the first round? Absolutely. There's the blowouts in every first round of every tournament ever. I don't care if it was when the FBS had 4 teams. Half the game sucked. Yep. Who cares? Give me that first round where there's upsets, and because there's always upsets in the first round. There's always at least one big upset where you're like, oh, goddamn, I didn't see that coming. I remember when Duquesne knocked off Towson and we got to play Duquesne. That was a crazy upset.
Or San Diego winning those back-to-back years.
Right. Just fun. It's football.
Big Sky people don't like it when you bring that up, though.
Yeah, well, they're the only conference that's lost to the Pioneer League team in the playoffs.
Twice.
But twice. And
twice. Because I think I was in high school when that happened.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not going to bring in the whole, because obviously we know all the movement that's gone on between FCS and FBS, but as somebody who went to a group of 5 school, when Colorado State was good, there was a time, believe it or not, like we would win our conference, but we wouldn't go anywhere. It's like you'd go play in a stupid bowl game. And I'm like, that's what, to your point, Brent, I'm like, that's what I love about this playoff system is like you said, everyone gets a chance. Yeah, you're right. There might be teams that wouldn't, it's like the NCAA tournament in basketball. Everybody gets in. That's what bugs me the hell out of me about the FBS. And I know that's a whole different can of worms because that's more money than it is actually equity and putting a good playoff together. Give these teams a shot. The best teams will rise to the top. That's going to inevitably happen. But the best, what's the point of having conferences and having these setups if we're not offering people a chance to play in the national tournament. That's all. That should be the end all be all for all these things. And I love that the FCS, even for the Pioneer League, I realize it's not the highest level, but you know what? Why not put them in? It's fun. That's what college football should be. And as someone who saw some really good teams who could never go anywhere and could never play in a playoff because of politics and money, I'll take the FCS playoff format any day.
What are these people saying up at the next level? Oh, we don't want an extra week of football? What are you, a communist? Right. You don't like more football? What's the matter with you?
Hell yeah.
We want to see a 6-6 or a 7. We want to see a 7-4 or a 7-4 SEC or Big Ten team over a 10-1 Sun Belt team. I mean, come on.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt the integrity of the bracket that there's blowouts in the second round.
No, it doesn't.
That's supposed to happen.
The quarters. Yeah. There's sometimes it's just a really good team that gets hot. Like, because I hate hearing it. Like when Albany got to the semis and got blown out by SDSU. Oh, they were overrated. It was like they went to the Kibbie Dome and beat Idaho, and they won. What was it, like 12 games that year? I don't think they were overrated. I just think SDSU was that good.
And by the way, the travel schedule was hell in that week too. So what?
Yeah, because they had to fly to Idaho, then go back to Albany, then back to South Dakota.
Yeah. I mean, Michael Barker barely made it. All right. So I mean, if he calls me and says, "Man, I'm thinking about not going," there's some shit brewing. All right, because that guy went to. I'm not going to try to say the new name. That guy went to Barrow, Alaska for a game.
Udovik.
No, the Whalers.
That's legendary, by the way.
That was so good.
God,
that but no, the first round, those blowouts, like you said, Zach, because the team gets blown out in the quarters, they never deserve to be there. What? That happens at every level. Every level. It happens in the NFL. Like, what are we talking about?
That's the case. Why are we having the NCAA basketball tournament?
Yeah, let's just vote on it, and then
because it prints
play.
money.
That's no fun.
There's that.
Yeah,
and Zach, I know that you are plugged in with our HBCU friends. I am kind of as well, just because of my love for the South Carolina State Bulldogs. Always been a great admirer of that program. Orangeburg is 75 miles from my hometown of Charleston. You would have to be an idiot to ignore that program and what Willie Jeffries and then Buddy Pugh did. But it's the argument of, well, it doesn't make money. The FCS playoffs don't make money. And my question to that is, when did we start looking at our football programs as things to make money versus offering kids educational and athletic opportunities? I just, the idea of, well, it doesn't make money, so we don't want to do it. So you want no postseason at all then, except for 2 teams? That's what you want instead?
I will say this. The only caveat I will give the SWAC, just because obviously I've talked to my co-hosts like really in depth about this with Coach Fred, who the assistant
head coach Fred, Alcorn, right?
Yeah,
head coach Fred.
Yeah, man. Shout out to Fred, man. And he's a huge supporter of the playoffs, and he loves it. But he said he had a conversation with his AD about it, and the biggest thing is because of the state's underfunding of the university, the football program making money is important for them more so than some of these other programs. And so that would be the pushback there, is because of the racism and the state funding with a lot of these HBCUs, especially in the South. That Celebration Bowl payout is huge. And so I do understand that. And they can't afford
don't do the Celebration Bowl. I totally understand why they do. But the should we accept a berth if it's offered? Of course you should. Of course.
So I think they always would. Now, the only ones that would push back are Southern and Grambling, because obviously they have the Bayou Classic next week, and that makes millions of dollars for both of those programs. So you can't pass that up. And then Bama State would probably actually be on the conversation for a bubble shot, but they got the Turkey Day Classic for maybe the last time this year. Now, Tuskegee pulled out moving forward next year because they want to go to the D2 playoffs. So if that happens and they move it to the Labor Day because of the new 12-game schedule, Bama State would actually be eligible for the playoffs next year for the first time ever. So
they got a hell of a quarterback there too. I know he's hurt right now, but if you haven't seen Body play, he's very appropriately named because he will do that to your team if you're not careful. He will totally and completely body your football team. Saquon State quarterback is really good too.
You know, we talked about Brennan and I have talked about all the Ivy League places we'd love to visit, and I know that's not a realistic. Probably not.
Speak for yourself, Zach. Speak for yourself. I got no desire to go to the Northeast, sir. None.
I've got some desire to go to see a Harvard stadium, just the stadiums.
I just want to go to the Harvard Yale game one time and just see, especially at Harvard, that would be a bucket list game.
There's some of those SWAC venues that and again, they're
let me tell you, Borg
SWAC venues I would love to get a chance to see but again, obviously it's probably not realistic because of the non-conference schedules never lining up and travel this and that. But yeah, I mean, there's just
when you retire, Borg, I'll give you a list. Because me and Kevin could probably work on I have a list of SWAC games you need to go to. The Soul Bowl in Jackson and in Alcorn. You got to go to each one when they're hosting it. The Bayou Classic.
The bands and sometimes the football too, not to mention.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
The Bayou Classic.
The South Carolina State game last week against North Carolina Central. Who's the guy that's going to be on the playoff broadcast tomorrow? People make fun of him because he'll say things incorrectly.
Well, that's pretty much whoever hosts it usually
does.
I know what you're thinking of.
But anyhow, he was doing the state Central game, and he said, "Where are the bands? This is a pivotal point in the game. There should be out. They should be in the stands supporting their team." And I'm like, dude, someone's going to murder you for saying that. You can't. What the hell is the matter with you? They're getting ready for their show behind the stands, dude, at the half. But I was just I'm sitting there with my friends in Charleston, and we're watching that, and we all just kind of looked at each other and said, "Wow, this guy has no idea where he is, does he? None.
No.
No, I mean, yeah, there's some bucket list ones down there for sure. That I'd like that list of. But although to be fair, I don't know when I'm retiring, man, because making the journalist money.
You just got to catch it. You just got to catch it on a bye week. You got to get a good bye weekend, and we'll fly you down here.
I would love that, man.
I'm excited.
Other people's money, just like that $1,000, Zach.
Yeah, that's exactly why I would, especially with somebody I didn't like. I would definitely put the $1,000 on the field and lose their money for them.
I just keep it.
That too.
What was that from Tombstone? I just crawfish on the bet, and that's what I do.
Oh, dollar, that was a bust.
Yeah, give me about 5 years when Zena's 7 and a lot easier for Ariel to handle on her own, and I'll be making some of these road trips in the playoffs or planning some trips here that I can not get in trouble for leaving leaving the wife alone with a baby to handle on her own. That will be happening.
Zach Borg, I meant to mention this earlier, man. If when we do this again next year, you have got to have a beard, dude.
A beard?
I mean, the beard game is strong in this show. Speaking about mine.
Yeah.
But you come on, man.
Mine's always super patchy, and I'm technically not on broadcast TV anymore. Although
there you go. Mountain man, that thing, dude.
I'm just mine's too patchy. Do you
remember when Brendan shaved his? Boy, that was.
I shave it every year, and people every time are surprised.
It just don't look right, man. You just got to keep it.
I didn't have a beard, until 6 years ago.
The only beard envy I've ever really had, honestly, was seeing Nate Adams this year at SDSU. Stephen F. Austin talking about him moving over. When the Stephen F. Austin transfer, when I saw that dude come in, I'm like, my God, for a college kid. Granted, he's a little bit older now, but for a college kid, that is a beard.
I shaved this in the off season, the chin part, and left a mustache. And my wife asked me if I was going to go audition for 80s cop shows because, man, I pulled it off, bro. You have to imagine that. I mean, I
can. No, that's.
I was ready to lock motherfuckers up.
Yes. Speaking of Nate Adams, not to interrupt this with football talk, what a performance out of him getting moved to center. That
happened just right before the game, right? I mean, he just came up to him and said, "Hey, you're playing center today." Is that pretty much how that happened?
I'm not sure if that's how it happened. I know it
during
came
the
out
week,
that he was
maybe.
playing center. So I'd assume they had him practice. You don't just do that. But what a performance by him. The interior of the line had some issues. And I think that was some of the issues with the run game and him moving Willenbring around. Willenbring is a good lineman.
Paycheck this week.
Yeah. And wow, what a performance by him. And I've just been seeing the pass over and over. I do want to show it one more time here because we are closing on 2 hours. And thank you both so much for jumping on.
Thanks, guys.
Really, really appreciate it. I just got to show two things. This angle of the throw is nuts and shows really how impressive this toss was by Jackson Henry. We're gonna
throw.
And then 35 yards down the field like that. That's some arm talent. Really impressive.
Buried on your depth chart. Number 3 quarterback. Can roll out and make a throw like that.
Number 3 quarterback. And the kid's got all the talent in the world. And excited for his future. Obviously, want Chase back. But I've got to do one more because our good buddy, friend of the show, Ryan Jensen, put out a whole bunch of them. And I've got to see where he put them. But he did some fun ones with music. And did the sound come through on that last video when I put it up? All right. So good. Because here is the one he put together here.
4 wides, 2 to either side. UND a 7 men at the line of scrimmage. All out blitz. Henry rolling out to the right. Pressure slings it down the right.
Tyler Marion call.
Damn.
As I said, I think Tyler stole left his body in the back. I don't blame him one bit after the last 4 weeks.
So great work, Ryan.
This is my favorite part when they go into the tunnel. That's my favorite part. It's like we're done here. See ya. That was perfect.
I don't think how many.
That's where Quentin Christensen was.
Right. Right.
Have there been that many walk-off wins in SD? I mean, obviously overtime hasn't been that much of a thing. You had the walk-off last year against USD at Dana J.
They do it against Stone in Brookings.
No, I don't think that wasn't a walk-off in the playoffs. No,
that game ended with Stone trying to and one. The guy,
right.
if you recall.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. God. I love Stone for being such a good sport when he comes on here because I know deep down he's gonna hate the shit out of SDSU.
Yes.
Well, if we're showing videos, go to my 4th tweet, man. If you have the ability to do that, and play this catch. It got no traction and nobody will see it.
Oh, from the Citadel game?
Yeah. Watch this catch. McNeese State did not want this kid this year. He's a grad transfer to us, Jihad Marks.
Oh, he's a dog, too.
Whoa! Whoa! We'll do that again so everybody can see. Wow. Oh, I'd have made you got mossed.
Then he takes a selfie, which Drayton hated, I know. But what can you do when a guy makes a catch like that?
When you make that catch, you can do whatever the hell you should do whatever the hell you want.
Right.
I mean, I'd be curious to see the up top angle because I think he might have got both feet in bounds.
He did too.
Oh my God.
He wasn't good enough to play at McNeese this year. They won their 2nd game today.
Well, Brendan, I almost want you to play the version I made of because even though I think UND is going to get in the playoffs, you should play the version I made of the catch. I'm just glad nobody put Titanic music to it.
I mean, somebody asked for that. I saw
actually,
that
somebody did do the Titanic music.
Perfect.
He also did one for me with "Hero" by Nickelback, which was my favorite.
Your request.
That was my favorite, but
I never thought I'd like to hear anything that sounded like Nickelback, but that was a good video.
Yeah,
but I can only think of the hockey season every time I think of UND. I did work there, so You know?
Speaking of
All right.
Jihad, though, like at Marks at the Citadel, man, go back and watch that film from the VMI game.
I was
That
on
kid
the sideline, man.
single-handedly was
I
killing
was
people.
so I was walking away from there at the General last Saturday when Walford did everything they could to give us the football game, and my best friend asked me, he said, "So how you feeling?" I said, "Well, man, I got way more experience feeling like this walking out of that stadium than I did after the VMI game. So this is kind of normal." But yeah, guys, kid's a player. He will get some looks. I think there's not a doubt about that. Maybe he's a spring football league type guy.
Hell yeah. All right, here it is, and then we'll let everybody have their parting remarks and go. But here's Zach Borg's version here.
Henry. Blitz coming up the middle. Jack Henry will sling one to the end zone.
That's long.
You, Chelsea Gagger. You're a hockey fan. If you know hockey and you're a hockey fan, you really got that last one pretty good. So.
I haven't
was
seen
awesome.
Ron Lowney comment for a while, but that song is still better than Moni Moni.
It is. I will give him that. I'll give you that.
All right. So with that, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Kevin, I'll let you go first. Where can people find you? What are you going to be doing with the selection show, everything else, upcoming weeks and all that stuff? And what do you got going on?
Well, you can find us on Twitter at FCS Nation Radio, at FCS Nation Radio, the number one, FCSNationRadio.com. And what I'm going to be doing for Selection Sunday is I'm going to be watching my friends with FCS Fans Nation. I'm going to watch those guys do the field reveal and listen, and hopefully Kyler says something dumb that I can mock him mercilessly for. I think there's a pretty good chance of that happening. So, and how long that show is, it's going to happen, man. It's just going to. But please remember, Selection Sunday, the match, up to $10,000. Man, if we can get to $100,000 this year, that would be just the greatest thing ever. But get in early before that match is gone. We really appreciate everything that Jackrabbit Illustrated has done, Eye Slayer has done, getting that total for South Dakota State just to be something that's just a tremendous thing. Thanks to every single one of y'all. If I talk about it anymore, I'm probably going to tear up, and nobody wants to see a Southern man cry. So thanks, y'all, and thanks for having me, guys. It's really a nice thing to come on here.
And hey, thanks a lot for coming on, Kevin, rocking for us
Thank
with
you.
us for not late hours tonight. Mr. Mckinnel, what do you got going on? I know you've got your projection out on your FCS Central, but where can everybody find you, your podcast with Timothy, and your shows with Craig and everything else?
Yeah, I don't know what the recording schedule is this week for Thanksgiving, but man, me and Timothy will be recording like a instant reaction episode to the bracket. I'll be tuned in watching it live with you guys, man, on FCS Fans Nation as well. But with the website, obviously FCS Football Central, at Zach Mckinnel on social media, and at the _ Blue Bloods everywhere, and then the Blue Bloods on all podcasts and platforms. And man, again, like Kevin said with the donations to Alex Lemonade, man, I made a big push to get David Walker up last year, and the helmet you see behind me actually was the auction that Kevin did last year with the David Walker helmet, man. So make sure to support. And all Jacks fans, man, the next 5 Jacks fans that DM me, if you will donate to Chase Mason, man, I will match your donation as well. So we'll like triple match that, I guess, would be, since they're also matching. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Kevin, man. I think that's one of the coolest things in the FCS space that's being done right now, man. So shout out to you, Kevin, and everyone that you work with on that. And guys, I appreciate y'all having me on y'all show tonight.
That's really super,
Thank
Zach.
you.
Thank you very much, man.
Thank you, man. Wow. And they're coming for you too, because we get the D-Gens stay up late for this show, man.
They do.
I was in the friggin' woods and they were still watching this goddamn thing.
That's right.
I was watching that one. I did not see you fall asleep though, because I was
there
already
for the
asleep
fall
because
asleep
I was
one.
in the low country. So I did
should've
some
fallen
low
asleep.
down things in the low country.
I did have the cops come by because they were wondering who the hell was in a car outside a random store at night. So Didn't fall
That's-
asleep, but I did get the county sheriff to come by. So
That's why Brendan actually invited us. He needed some Southern flavor to the show to
Right.
keep you awake this time. It got too Midwesterny in here.
Is there video of the sheriff knocking on your window?
no,
No.
Damn.
unfortunately, no.
Damn.
This may not have been the best SDSU season of all time, but man, there's been some eventful stuff happening in this year's season.
It has been a ton of fun. Kevin, Zach, thank you so much
you guys.
for hanging with us for officially 2 hours now. You
Can
guys
we
are
do
the
it?
best.
Can we do it? Can we do it? Can we do the thing?
Can we do the thing? We will. Just first, everybody who's watching, listening, joined us, you absolute lunatics at 1:30 in the morning. God bless each and every one of you. We appreciate it so much. Thank you. Go follow Zach. Go follow Kevin. Listen to their podcast. Listen to the FCS Nation Radio on your local radio station, or pick up the podcast version. We appreciate all of you. Like, subscribe, share it with your friends, but we really appreciate each and every one of you who listen now, or if you're listening tomorrow, Saturday after the pod, or Sunday after the selection show, whenever.
We'll be back next week. We didn't know if we were going to be back next week.
We will be back next week. So that's exciting. I'll have a different backdrop because I'll be at my mom's place. But other than that, thank you so much, everybody. And we'll end it the way we usually do, with a go big, go blue,
Go blue.
go Jacks.
Jack.
Go Dogs.
Peace.
There we go. And we're going to end this way because it's funny.
Oh my God, I put him to sleep.
Oh, we got it.
I fell
We got a
asleep.
gag going.
He's just so boring.
What a time to be alive.